The snow had begun to fall as we left Canada. I can't believe that after more than 3 years working on this project, Christine and myself are flying down to Sarasota, Florida to meet with Christy. Over 3 years of Skyping is about to become a reality when the three of us meet in the flesh. Let me go back to the beginning of my story. A friend of mine told me about how her mother was ill, but years of testing came up with no diagnosis. I was looking for a subject to make a documentary on when Christine Knox was diagnosed with mitochondrial disease. My reaction was, "You've been diagnosed with mito what?"
Mitochondrial.
Mitochondrial. And no, I've never heard of it. Mitochondrial? And I have not heard of that disease before.
Mitocondrial?
Mitochondrial disease, have you ever heard of it?
I know what mitochondria is, but no, I've never heard of that.
Yes. Do you know what mitochondrial disease is? No? Mitochondrial disease is a cellular genetic breakdown. So let me explain what that means. We all have nuclear DNA, and then we have mitochondrial DNA that we inherit from our mothers. And so mitochondrial disease is a genetic disease, typically that is inherited maternally through the mother. And when mitochondria are affected by this disease, it essentially can affect all sorts of genes in the mitochondria DNA, and it causes the energy production that goes on in the mitochondria to not work properly. So the cells and the organs and the basic body systems that are automatic for us don't work properly, and as a result we can end up having all sorts of body systems go wrong, fail completely, and ultimately cause death.
The goal of the documentary was to raise awareness of this little-known disease, one that was going undiagnosed, or even worse, misdiagnosed. This story unfolded over 3 years, and the project went through many forms, finding its heart in the story of these two brave women. After Christine was diagnosed with mitochondrial disease, she reached out on the internet to anyone struggling with Mito and met Christy Morris.
When I was sent to Vancouver to start the testing, one of the first things they did in the diagnostic procedure was I had to provide a really comprehensive history of not just myself medically, but of my family as well, so my whole family. And then they started doing all sorts of tests. So there was blood tests and urine tests, and I had to have scans done of my brain to show whether or not I was having any seizure activity or whether there was any evidence of MS, because part of the way they diagnose Mito is they have to rule out all sorts of other things. So they ruled out me having MS as one of the major first things that they had to look at. So the next really major test that I had to determine whether I had Mito was a muscle biopsy. And what that is they essentially cut open an area about an inch long into your quadricep muscle in your upper thigh, and go down and they take about 3 pieces of your quadricep muscle. Shortly after I was first diagnosed, I got an email from someone in Mito Action and they had put out a link to a Facebook Mito community. And so I thought, oh, perfect, because I was feeling so alone with this. I didn't know what to do, who to talk to. I felt totally lost. So I thought, great, this is going to give me a community of people who will understand what I'm dealing with and who I can ask questions of. So I got onto the Facebook groups, and then I discovered that there was like quite a few of them. I was amazed how many there was. So I joined a whole pile of them in even just one day. I joined quite a few. One day I started private messaging with Christy, and because she had posted she was really struggling and she had been in and out of the hospital, and I'd seen these posts, and so I private messaged her, and I was asking her some questions about, you know, what she was dealing with, and she was asking what I was going through, and we just clicked. It was just this instant rapport. And so I said to her one day, I said, or she asked me, I can't even remember now. She said, let's Skype. And so we exchanged Skype names and started Skyping, and our conversations became Skype conversations that were just so supportive and amazing. And I was just amazed at her strength and what she goes through on a daily basis. And even though at first meeting her was a little scary, because I thought, is this what I'm going to end up having to deal with in the future? So when I saw all her tubes and everything, and heard about all of the different problems she experiences, I thought, oh my God, is this what's ahead of me? And that was really scary. But at the same time, hearing and seeing how strong she is through it, like, she just inspires me so much.
The two fast became close friends, sharing with each other the struggles, pains, and fears they experienced living with Mito. A human connection Christine so desperately needed after years of being told she wasn't sick. Mitochondrial disease manifests itself differently from person to person, and Christy and Christine suffer from very different symptoms and illnesses. They do share a life full of hospital stays, doctor's appointments, waiting weeks and even months for results, living in a constant fear of the unknown, a world of unanswered questions. Then one day during the shooting of an uncomfortable moment, when Christy was sharing with us how she uses her feeding tubes, first pointing out past scars on her tummy, and why she won't be a belly dancer.
The one further up, but tell us about all of the scars.
This one right here, this one right here, and this one right here are from my gastric stimulator.
Okay, your gastric stimulator, yeah.
Which are to help stimulate my which are to help kind of stimulate everything to help with the gastroparesis.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's not helping.
And what about the other two scars?
Well, this was from a pain pump. This was probably from something having to do with it. I don't know. I have no clue. I've had so many surgeries, I don't know.
She looks like she has a bruise there that she didn't have the other day.
Yeah.
This is from just from all the acidity from the gastric juices.
Oh, wow. Does that happen all the time?
Because I get I get a lot that like bubble out.
Right.
And it burns my skin.
Wow.
So it discolors it all. Yeah, I'm not a belly dancer. Or I'm not a very pretty belly dancer.
Well, you could have one of those flimsy little tops that covers all that part.
And you squirt the audience.
Yeah. You could be a real sideshow act.
There we go.
Oh, what would we do without a sense of humor?
The fluid in my tube will go up and down, but you can't see because it's not colored.
Right.
But it's right here, so every time I talk, it's moving up and down.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Yeah, we can see it moving up and down. And that's because you're just putting some pressure, on your stomach and that with talking.
Yeah, and because there's no room in my stomach. My
Right.
stomach is small and everything, so.
So we'll be quiet for a moment.
Well, it won't go down.
It's kind of
Not like those Buffalo Wild Wings.
Be nice. Whoops, there it goes. I overflowed it.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Shoot.
oh.
I'm gonna clamp it. I'm gonna have to clamp it. I can't laugh.
Okay, no laughing.
Yeah, if I laugh, it's bad.
I could just see you're being like a fountain spraying all over your room. There goes Christy, she's exploding
I'm like an elephant.
Makes me think of Yellowstone National Park and fountains just going.
I can see the care worker running.
This is not helping you to not spurt.
I'm an entertainment for the kids.
Bring the neighborhood kids in charge of the money.
That's right.
Look at my mom.
Watch Christy blow.
We're not helping her. Come on.
Helping.
Over the years, these two women let me into their lives to experience a small glimpse of this daily routine. There were times when it was very difficult to watch and hear. I didn't want to feel sorry for Christine and Christy. It was the last thing they would want me to do. And because of that, I grew as a filmmaker. Actually, because of that, I grew as a person. My film might be about mitochondrial disease, but for Christy and Christine, it's about their lives. They can't turn the camera off and walk away.
So as I landed in Sarasota, I was so excited I could hardly contain myself. I was wanting to leap out of my seat, which, if you've seen how fast I move, leaping is just not on the agenda.
I arrived in Sarasota before Christine. It was very important for me to capture their first moment meeting in person. Christy could hardly hold her excitement. We had it all planned that we would go to the airport and find the gate where Christine's plane would arrive at. She hadn't slept much the night before, thinking about this moment. Christy sat there, thinking about how wonderful this moment's going to be. She sat and waited, and waited, and she waited some more. What happened to Christine, she wondered. Christy was on a mission. She hadn't waited 3 years just to lose her friend at the airport. I told her that I thought any Canadian come to Florida in the winter would be waiting outside in the sunshine. Christine made a bolt for the exit. It's hard to explain the feeling in the hotel room that day. I was watching two people who over the years became close friends, and for the first time, they were sitting in the same room together. Over the years, there were so many times that Christy would end up in the hospital, sometimes for months. We'd always think about that and wonder if this day would ever happen. And as I look around the room at the smiles, the tears, the laughter, I realized it was all worth the wait. Returned to her world of mitochondrial disease. Like most people with Mito, it robs them of the energy they so need, making it difficult for them to function.
What are you doing right now?
I'm cleaning the end of my port
Right.
because so it doesn't have germs. And then I gotta get the air out of my syringes because I don't need another pulmonary embolus.
It was nice to see Christy had a way to get around. In a pre-interview, she told me that the sicker she got, the more people in her life stopped coming by to see her or take her out. She felt like she was becoming a burden on them. Our day started off going from one doctor appointment to another. Then, off to the hospital where we once again waited. I was shocked to realize how much time a person with Mito spends waiting when they should be spending time with their family and loved ones.
Well, it's only been
That's
2 weeks now, right?
just shy of
Doesn't hurt to touch?
Yeah.
Really?
Is it normal that's
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, I'm gonna spray it first, and then I'll put on my sterile gloves. Yep, you got your head over that one. Yeah. I don't know that it works.
That's fine. It's just like, that's crazy.
So you're gonna come back in a week?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna clean it here. If you're not here on time and you're running late, we're like, uh-oh, she might be in the hospital, let's check.
I was in for a long time this last time. It was like almost from July to November, I think.
Seriously?
Yeah. Just tell me what.
I will. All right, Christy, you will stick here. All right, stop. Did it hurt?
That's the
Yeah, not too bad. So you're gonna come Tuesday, next Tuesday at 10 o'clock?
I think so. I have to look on the calendar.
Okay.
We were going to go out and do a bunch of shooting today, but Christy's not feeling well, and so we've had to adjust our plans. She's gone to lay down because she's feeling so sick, and so now we are going to just go and check in on her.
With Mito, you never know what kind of day you're waking up to. Will you have the energy to get out of bed? Will it be a day of pain and discomfort? Or would it be one of those rare days when you feel like you can take on the world? It was one of those rare days that we took to the road and headed out for some sightseeing. The plan was to spend the day at the Moat Marine Laboratory and Aquarium, with me standing by filming footage of the trip. Once at the aquarium, what I was witnessing was two close friends who have a special bond, finishing each other's sentences like lifelong buddies. The Moat Aquarium was crazy. We explored touch pools, saw manta rays, sharks, sea turtles. Once we entered and went below the water level, all of a sudden it became quiet. The only sounds were of the bubbles filling the crisp air. The interesting thing to me was that all the exhibits were at eye level with Christy and Christine. I was fascinated to see that the fish seemed to glide with ease through their tanks. The way Christy and Christine glided from exhibition to exhibition with such ease. Christy loves the color pink. The first time I met her in person, she was decked from head to toe in the color pink, even her prized pink wheelchair. So it seemed like it was meant to be when we came around the corner and came face to face with a family with a child in a wheelchair. A pink wheelchair. I stood in front of the shark tank, watching these beautiful creatures glide freely by. It appeared as if they were flying through the water effortlessly, as if it was air. It reminded me of a story Christy told me about what makes her feel free, like flying, even just for a moment.
And some of the things that I'd love to do, like I like to ride my bike, and because it kind of makes me feel like I'm free. It's like I get to do something. I put my headphones in where I don't have to listen to anybody, and I just ride.
I came across Christy and Christine sitting in front of the fish tank. They sat there for a long time in silence, not saying a word. I couldn't help but wonder what was going through their thoughts. They seemed not to have a care in the world. And maybe they didn't for this moment, because they had each other. And what seemed to be a small moment in time, Christy and myself were on a plane headed back to Canada, where it was still snowing. I sat there looking out the window, thinking about the last 3 years. How a stranger, over 5,317 kilometers across the world, could have such a big impact on your life. Christy and Christine somehow found a way through the internet to hold each other's hands until they could hug each other in person. Even with loved ones by your side, having someone who truly understands what you're going through can't be measured or described in words.
I had to send you this message. I'm so thankful that you came down to Florida to see me. I've enjoyed spending time with you and Brian. I cannot express with words how much this means to me to have you come visit.
On a day-to-day basis, what is your outlook on life?
The worst part of the disease is the gastroparesis, and that is because of the nutrition. Yes, I've got Mito, but really what controls my day-to-day living and energy and everything is the gastroparesis. And that is because I have to depend on the feeding tubes